broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 167 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Ryan Machad, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. I'm joined tonight by TJ. So TJ, how you doing?
Hey Ryan, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Great. So tonight TJ and I are going to discuss his experiences with laser training devices, the ones that he has used, along with some other training aids that you can use to help improve your shooting. So, TJ, what did you do this past weekend in firearms?
Yeah, the other day I got to go to a friend's house, invited me over last minute, and he's got a clay thrower, a couple different clay throwers, and so I brought a shotgun over there, a couple pistols, and we shot some clays, and then afterwards he said he's never actually shot a handgun, and then his son, his little 10-year-old son, had never either, so I had my Model 66 and my Car 380, took both of those out, showed him how to use them, let him shoot them a little bit, and I had some of those reactive polymer targets that I let him shoot, and those things are pretty cool. The little self-healing targets, so we shot those and had a good time. It's pretty awesome getting to shoot with a beginning shooter. He's not a new shooter because he's shot stuff before, but he's a young shooter, so that's a cool positive.
How do you like the 380?
He liked it surprisingly, except that at some point let him try to load it from using the slide, and it bit him because I didn't show him quite exactly how to do that properly, so the slide bit his hand a little bit. But he wasn't too turned off from that. So.
And the 66?
He liked the 66 as well because it's big and heavy. It soaks up that 38 pretty well. Yeah. And it was kind of funny. His dad has two 20 gauges that he lets him shoot, and I had my 12-gauge Remington semi-auto. Well, I call it a semi-auto, but it's messed up right now, so it's basically a single shot. But anyways, he wanted to try mine, so I let him shoot that. He was killing him with that thing. He couldn't hold it right. It was positioned on his, on like his bicep almost, rather than his shoulder, because the stock was too long. But he was loving it. He was knocking every single one of those clays with that thing. I said, well, looks like you're going to have to get him a 12-gauge. And he says, well, my birthday's in a few days.
Yeah, I found that when you're shooting the 20-gauge, sometimes, you get those clays that go a little bit further out, and if you don't have the right choke or anything, or the right load in the gun, you're going to have a lot harder time getting them.
Yeah, but he did tell me that the
12 pushes your range out quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's got a whole lot more shot, too.
Right.
So he did tell me that he put the Titus choke in it whenever he got it. He didn't know exactly what the Titus one available was, because it came with 3 chokes, and so he just put the Titus one in there. And so I'm not entirely sure what he was using, but he might have been using a full choke, so It's not quite the best for that.
Absolutely, and if you didn't hear on the Handgun Radio show, I went out last weekend to the range, got to shoot a 32-20 double-action Smith & Wesson revolver, and also a copy of the Browning High Power. That was really fun, and made my target stand. TJ, you saw the target stand I made, and you had some input on that. It's PVC pipe, so it's a 10-foot long section of PVC pipe. I got the plans from the Box of Truth, and it's basically 7 16-inch sections of PVC pipe cut off, and then 2 T sections, so you have three holes with it's shaped like a T, obviously a T connector, and then 2 90-degree corners and 2 end caps. And that was the way I did it. And then you put, what is it, the 2 furring strips? Yeah. Like a 1x2 furring strip. You just stick it in the 2 verticals. Yeah. And there's some pictures on the show note, on the page there, Handgun Radio Facebook page. You can check that out. Worked really well, and I didn't glue it, so I could replace any sections that I maybe hit by accident, or if there was any any fragments that kind of penetrated the PVC, I could easily replace a section of pipe. And also, it's very portable because I can just take it down and then put it in a bag and carry it to the range. Yeah, those are convenient, really convenient, because I made one as well a couple, last year sometime, and the size of it fits pretty well into one of those kind of folding camping chairs, the little kind of mesh nylon chairs that you get
And, you always lose the bag because there's nothing to do with them when you're sitting in the chair. So
Right.
I just don't even keep them together. And I had 2 or 3 of them extra sitting in my closet. And whenever I built that target, I figured out that it fits perfectly in one of those.
Now, what was the modification that you did to it? You said you had done some sort of modification to the target.
Yeah, I don't remember the dimensions right now, but I can post them in the show notes for anybody that's interested. But basically, I shortened a couple of the pieces by like 2 inches maybe rather than 16. I think I did 4 14-inch pieces. And then for the base, I guess you could say. And then for the ones that go to make the width, I kept those 16 so you could still use the same targets. But then what I did with the extras, I cut 4 7-inch pieces and then added 2 more T's. So for the vertical legs, you put 1 7-inch piece, 1 T, and then another 7-inch piece. And then where that T is coming to the side, just put one of the 16-inch pieces in there and put them together. Might be kind of hard to explain on the podcast, but I'll put in a couple pictures for you guys. But that gives a little more stability, because I found the way you made it, it's kind of twists, and if you don't have it just right, it's not level, can twist and stuff, and if you get some wind, it's not quite as stable. But you said you had pretty good luck with the wind. So
yeah, I had no problems with it. I'm usually anybody who watches the video can hear the wind noise that I usually get on the camera from the crappy microphone I have. And I was actually kind of worried that it was going to blow the target stand over, but it didn't. The target stand stood up, and there was a pretty stiff wind out there that day. And you figure, with a big piece of cardboard stapled to those strips, it's like a sail. But it didn't knock the target over. I was really pleased with it. It worked really well.
Yeah, it was just a little modification I made to mine. So, and then actually used that last weekend as well. That's what I put those polymer targets on. I put a 2x4 onto the furring strips and then just screwed those polymer targets onto that as the base.
Awesome. Yeah, it really works well, and I'm glad. I'm going to go out and make another one, actually, so that way I'll have 2 or 3 of them to use. So
yeah, and they're cheap, probably about $20 a piece.
Yeah, I think I spent total cost of materials of about $20. Excellent. So that about wraps up the week in review. So we're going to head into the main topic: laser training.
Do you shop on Amazon? How about your spouse? Does your mom? Does your company? Why not use the Firearms Radio Network's Amazon affiliate link next time you shop Amazon? Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon, or click through the Amazon link in the right-hand corner of firearmsradio.tv. Get it? Got it? Amazon it!
All right, so we're into the main topic, laser training. So before we even get started here, as many people listening to Handgun Radio know, I am someone who doesn't care for lasers on handguns. So before we get started on the laser training aids, let's get this out of the way. TJ, how are training lasers different from lasers you would use for, like, sighting your handgun?
Well, the training lasers generally they simulate fire, I guess you could say. You put them usually into the barrel to, like, as you pull the trigger, it simulates a shot fired, except obviously just with a laser rather than a bullet.
Yeah, most of them have the the rim will be missing, so it'll stay in the chamber. You can rack the slide; it won't get pulled out, right?
Right, and most of the bullet cartridges, or I guess the laser cartridges is what they're generally called, they'll have that rimless, so you can rack it and not have to worry about
pulling it out of the chamber.
Yeah, it ejecting. But then, it's kind of like if you think about a bore sighter, where you put it in the barrel and it just shoots right parallel to the barrel. That's kind of a good way to think of it, except that I think most of them only stay active as you pull, like, it's just active for like a split second when you pull the trigger.
Yeah, a few seconds after the striker falls.
Yep.
So these laser training aids, they can be really useful. A lot of people, back in the old days, it was dry fire. Well, the problem with dry fire is you don't get any sort of feedback in terms of, was I on target? I mean, you can people say put a quarter or a penny on the top of the front sight and dry fire and, see if it doesn't fall off the sight to make sure you're staying even and level and stuff. But that doesn't show you down range whether or not, you pulled the trigger to the left or the right or whatever. you know, you don't get any feedback. And these laser systems can offer feedback, but they can also offer a few other benefits. So you've had a lot more experience, TJ, with them. And so what are some of the benefits that you see with these laser training devices?
Well, obviously, like, the benefit of dry fire in general is you save your money, you save your ammo, so you're not spending hundreds of dollars to get the equivalent of trigger pull. So you can practice your smooth trigger pulls in the home, and you can practice drawing and getting, that first shot down on target. But like you mentioned, you don't get that visual feedback that you do with a live round. So the main benefit of a laser is that you do get that visual feedback.
And then also your ammo savings, like you said, but plus, like, your range time driving, if you have range fees to pay.
Right, because that could be, I think for me it's $10 or $15 at my local range, plus I've got to drive 25 minutes, so that's gas, money,
right.
All that additional. I know some ranges you even have to buy their ammo to shoot on their range. You have to buy their target, so they're obviously inflated price a little bit, and it adds up a lot. And if you just want to shoot for 10 minutes and just to kind of get your trigger, just keep your trigger finger in tune, I guess you could say, then that can add up a whole lot.
Now, what are some of the drawbacks of these laser systems? Because I know, obviously, you're not getting the full package as it might be in terms of your recoil, getting back on target after the shot has fired. You do like your resets and stuff though, right? Like being able to practice bringing it forward to reset. You just have to rack the slide manually, obviously.
Yeah, like you said, the biggest drawback is the recoil management, because you don't have any kind of recoil. So you're still on target after the shot breaks. So it's kind of, I guess, you're a little quicker and it's not as realistic, I suppose. So the shot breaks, the laser shoots, and you're still right there where you were, rather than having to settle your sights back down and get back on target. So that's one drawback that a lot of people kind of poo-poo for dry fire. But and then,
well, like if you have like a flinch or something, that's also you're not gonna get that fix, because you need to be able to know, okay, the recoil's coming or whatever, and not anticipate it and flinch or close your eyes or something like that,
Right.
And I'm sure laser training would help to an extent, but you still need to have that experience of the gun actually reacting in your hand when you pull the trigger.
Right, and it's not going to completely replace live fire, but if you don't have the time or money to go to a range, but you do have 10 minutes in your bedroom with a index card that you can stick on the wall, well, there you go. It's better than, it's either laser training, dry practice, or nothing, if you're in that situation. So it's always better to do something rather than nothing.
It's not really associated with the laser training, maybe, but one thing I will mention is, like, if you're looking to get that recoil or something similar to that recoil, you could look at something like an airsoft gun that's powered by the green gas or whatever that actually has that recoil simulation.
Right.
That would be closer, and you could set up a blanket on a wall in your room or something and fire a few magazines through it, and that would give you at least a little bit of a simulation of the recoil.
Yeah, now there's actually a company, I'm not entirely sure too much about them, so I'm not going to talk about them too much just so I don't get people's hopes up and let them down. But they take airsoft guns and convert them to just using these lasers. So I guess they take one of the laser cartridges, maybe kind of do something to make them work in the airsoft gun, and they're powered by the propane, those little CO2 canisters, those little bitty ones that you put in BB gun pistols. And so the CO2 creates a blowback similar to a slide actuation. So whenever you use those, you get the laser and some recoil, but obviously it's probably still not completely realistic recoil, but it's a little more than nothing, It would be interesting to see, like, Laser Light or something. They have their blue trainer pistol with a laser in it. It would be interesting to see them produce something that actually has a CO2 canister, like, in the grip, that functions in concert with the laser and allows you to have a little bit of like a recoil simulation. Even if it's just the slide, coming back, it's going to give you a little bit of movement that will kind of simulate that. Yeah, that would be awesome to see. I know Laser Lights has a ton of products, so imagine that might be something foreseeable for them, actually.
So, actually, speaking of Laserlight, we'll move into some of the shooting devices here. So, Laserlight is one company that you hear about a lot in this arena in terms of all the products they offer, because they offer a wide variety of products. You've had the most experience with them because I believe you reviewed a few of their products, right?
Yeah, I have actually got the first thing I got from them was their Laserlight Training Time Kit, I believe they call it, which is their pistol, laser insert, and a laser target, which reacts to the red laser. So the pistol that they have two different ones. One's a full size and one's a compact. The compact is really weird. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody, honestly, because it wouldn't. The grip's not long enough to simulate, or not long, but not deep enough, I guess, to simulate any of your standard handguns. It's smaller than my 380's grip, and so it's just an awkward size. It's a little too big to like practice pocket carry with, and it's an awkward pistol. I wish they would offer their training time kit with their full size, because the full size is basically a Glock 19 size. It doesn't look like it at all. It just looks like a funky little fake blue gun, but it fits in my Glock holster, some of my Glock holsters, like the kind of, I guess, looser holsters, like a hybrid Kydex holster it fit in, but it wouldn't fit in my Serpa holster. So it's not so close to the dimensions that you can put it in every holster, but you can use it in some. So, but basically what you do, they have this little insert that you put into the barrel end of the gun, and their training pistols have like a empty barrel, I guess you'd say, to where you can insert this down into it. You put it in the barrel end of the gun, very much like a bore sighter, and it's adjustable down from 380 up to 45. So you screw this little back arbor in, and it just widens this flange and keeps it centered in the barrel. And then the laser target that they have come with it reacts to it. So that was my first experience with it, and it's really cool. The target and the laser, you can use them. You can, like I said, use it anywhere. Stand across the room, shooting light switch covers and doorknobs and all that stuff, and just to try to get some trigger time in.
Well, and it's nice that you have the versatility of being able to go between all those different cartridges, too, because, some of the issues with the other training cartridges is like, okay, well, I've got a 9, I've got a 40, I've got a 45, I've got a 357, I've got a 30-06. I got to buy all these different training cartridges, and they're not cheap, generally.
No. Yeah, this kit itself that comes with the gun, the target, and the laser is about $135 on Amazon, and the targets are, the laser itself is about $85, it looks like, on Amazon. The adjustable laser that lets you put it in any gun. And the trigger, the gun by itself is $30, and the target's pretty high up there, honestly. So this is this package is a great economy package. It really does save you some money by buying the package, but like I said, I don't like that compact pistol, so I wish they would offer that in the full-size pistol.
Now, talking about the target, we used one of these when we were down at NRA show in Nashville, and I really liked it. So you shoot at the target, and I believe it's after you fired, a string of 5 or 6 rounds, it'll show all your shots, where they landed.
Oh, yeah. They have a few targets like that. You shoot them, and they have these little LEDs behind, I guess, the target screen, and it saves where you've hit. And then once you can, there's a couple different ways you can do it, I think. You can either you can tell it that you want to shoot 10 shots, or you can tell it that you want to shoot 5 or whatever, or you can just shoot unlimited and then hit a little button on the bottom. It's like another switch that is a laser, so you don't have to walk up to it and press it. You just shoot that switch, and then it'll light up all of your hits.
Right, and then you can shoot another switch to reset and go right down again. Yeah, that was really fun. And then you had those the cans, right? Yeah,
those laser plinking cans by Laserlight, I believe is what they're called. And they just look like they're about like little 8-ounce, like V8 can sizes with a little red circle on it. Whenever you hit that red circle, there's a little switch that actuates in the bottom to where when you hit it, it shoots this little stick out and it makes it fall over. So like if you're shooting you're out in the backyard shooting some soda cans and they fall over, this kind of simulate that, and they're just incredibly fun.
Yeah, those were really fun. I kind of wanted to keep sitting there just shooting them, sitting on the couch.
Yep.
No, really enjoyed those. And then, so we were talking about the laser cartridges, and like we said, you got to buy the different ones for your different calibers, and they don't have the rim, so you can work on your manipulations and stuff like that. So your malfunction manipulation, say you want to do the tap, rack, bang, stuff like that. You don't have to worry about racking that shell out of the chamber. Have you used any of these, TJ?
I have not used those particular ones. Like the only experience I have is the adjustable one that goes in the front end of the barrel. But there's actually a couple companies. I know Laser Light makes them, and I'm drawing a blank. I think it's called Laser Ammo. They make another one, and like you said, they just go. You would load it into the chamber just like you would a cartridge, and then whenever you're done, like you said, it doesn't have that rim. So if you have like a Glock, or honestly a lot of the handguns right now where you don't have the reset, like if you don't have a double action pistol, you're gonna have to rack the slide every time. So that is one limitation. But they've basically made this cartridge to where it doesn't have a rim, so you can rack the slide and don't have to worry about it flying out every time and go chase it across the floor and pick it up just to put it back in your gun. So that's a good thing. And then once you're done, they just recommend taking a pencil and taking the eraser end of a pencil and just knocking it out.
Yeah, those were some of the first laser training devices I remember seeing on the market with these cartridges that you could insert, because they were basically just a rebranded type of bore sight, sort of. Yeah,
pretty sure that's Laser Light makes bore sights, so they probably just adapted it down to that. And I think actually they have cartridge bore sights like this, except all you do is just turn it on and put it in the chamber, and it stays on the entire time rather than reacting just to the trigger pull. So I imagine it was a pretty easy conversion. Now, Laser Light offers them in 380, 9, 40, and 45. I'm not entirely sure, some of the other brands. I know a few brands make them, so you might be able to find some more obscure ones, but those are the main handgun pistol cartridges, so I'm sure everybody makes those.
Now, what about people who want to train with lasers with like their 12-gauge shotguns or their rifles?
Yeah, now it might sound a little weird just because who really thinks of, I guess usually when you think of laser training, you think of kind of like for accuracy and stuff, but Laser Light does make one. It's very similar to that universal pistol laser, except it's gigantic and it fits in the front of a 12-gauge shotgun. And what it does, it has it has like a spread. I think it's got like nine lasers or so in there, so it kind of simulates a spread, and they specify the actual spread. It's like one inch every how many feet or something along those lines. So it's kind of supposed to simulate shotgun spread. So if you're a foot away from the target and you shoot it, it's going to be a tight little cluster. If you're across the room, it's going to show you an actual spread. So that's pretty neat. And it works just like everything else. You pull the trigger, it shoots it for a split second and then goes off. Now, working with a semi-auto shotgun might be a little awkward with that because you'd have to completely change your grip between each shot. But with the pump action, you're already right there and using it that way. So I haven't played with one of those, but I think it'd be pretty cool to try out. And then they have rifle adapters, specifically, rifle cartridges. Their main, actually, I think the only rifle cartridge specifically that they have is the 223, but then you can purchase these sleeves that you put the 223 into, and you kind of convert it to a 308, 30-06, 270, there's a ton of different ones. You'd have to go to their website and see which sleeves are offered.
Yeah, I think that would be great, especially, and then, like you said right there, versatility. You're not having to buy 20 different cartridges.
Yeah, you buy the 1, 2, 3 cartridge, and then you buy, I'm not sure, I think they're cheap, though. The sleeves are relatively inexpensive. So you buy the expensive cartridge and then the inexpensive sleeves and just swap them out instead of having to buy 2 or 3 of the full-price laser cartridges. So that's definitely a good deal right there. And then what Laser Light also, I think it's a relatively new product, is they've offered an entire AR kit. So it comes with this 223 laser cartridge, a charging handle that I believe it's a little larger. It's a little larger handle. I'm not entirely sure why they made it larger.
Probably because they figure you'll be manipulating it.
Yeah, you'll have to manipulate it in between each round, but it just seems to me it's kind of a drawback because if you're used to that big one and you go to grab your standard one and you might miss it or something like that. So it's a little
consistency in training,
right? But you could use your standard charging handle, but this one doesn't have the latch on it. So I think maybe they're just trying to make it easily usable, and plus it's bright red. You can see whenever the gun is kind of in use. And then they also have a, what do they call it, a buffer block. You take your buffer and buffer spring out of your stock, and then you put this buffer block right behind the buffer, and then you put everything back in. So whenever you go to charge it, you're not charging it all the way back. And I think what this is supposed to do is alleviate the worry that if you happen to, if you're practicing mag changes or something, and you have a bunch of empty mags, you accidentally have one with a round in it, you can't pull that back far enough to chamber that round, because it's maybe an inch and a half off the back of the buffer tube. So you can't charge it far enough to load a live round kind of on top of that laser cartridge. So that's a really good feature.
So it sort of works like the AK-47 safety. With
the
the lever on the side prevents you from pulling the bolt far enough back to get a round off the mag.
Right, very, very similar, except it's inside.
Right.
And then they also give you some brass, like cleaning rods, basically, that you thread together. So when you're done, you can just stick that down the barrel and pop the laser cartridge out.
Awesome. And then the Glock 19, 23 and 32 barrel?
Yeah, this is a product that I believe they came out with just in maybe February or so. It's a completely swap out the Glock barrel. And they only have it for the compact Glocks right now, the 19, 23, and 32, and I guess maybe the 45 gap, I'm not sure. But you just take your Glock barrel out, you throw this one in, it's bright red, so you know when it's in there, and it's, just works just like any of the other lasers. You pull the trigger and there you go. But it obviously you're not able to chamber a round into it like you would standard barrel, so you don't have to worry about chambering a round into it and shooting it, which I guess maybe that's what they're kind of trying to get around there, is because with the barrel insert, you'd have that in there, you could still chamber a round behind it and fire it off if you happen to have a round close to you in a magazine or something like that. And that is one big concern whenever you're doing this, any kind of dry fire. You need to make sure that you don't have any ammo around, especially if you're going to be doing mag changes. You don't want to grab what you think is an empty mag and throw it in your gun, do a mag change, charge it, and shoot a hole in your wall or anything more important,
Right. I mean, sometimes when you're doing these mag changes, we're trying to move fast. We equate being fast with being smooth, and we don't think, and that can cause a real tragedy. So you want to make sure you're not having any live ammo, just like TJ said, around. Be smooth first. Smooth is fast.
Yep, and some of these products do really alleviate some of that worry.
So the one that I hear about, kind of moving away from laser light here, I hear about this a lot, and I have no experience with it, and I really want to, is the SIRT pistol. So what is the SIRT pistol?
Okay, the SIRT pistol, it stands for Shot Indicating Reset. SIRT, Shot Indicating Resetting Trigger. And basically what it is a full-size Glock 17 kind of fake, I guess you could say. They don't, I guess they're probably not allowed to call it a Glock 17, but it basically simulates a Glock 17. You can put it in same Glock 17 holsters much, much better than you can the laser light system. It's made to fit in Glock holsters. And what it is, it's all one unit, completely inert, so you definitely don't have to worry about any of that live ammo or anything. You can't even put live ammo in it just because it's not anywhere near a real gun. So what it does, it has two integrated lasers. The first one is kind of like where your guide rod would go. It's called a shot take-up laser, and that anytime your trigger finger is on that trigger, this laser lights up, and you probably won't be able to see it if you have a proper sight picture because it is below bore, but it's a little better for showing, I guess, a instructor. Like if you're in a class and you're doing holster drills, they can see if you're sweeping like a long red line from your foot to the target, they know your trigger finger is on the trigger before it needs it to be. So that's a really good kind of diagnosis tool. And then the second one is the actual shot indicating laser. And what that does, as soon as the trigger breaks, it shoots the laser out and shows you where you hit. So those two lasers, you can turn off the take-up laser to where if you're not worrying about using that, you can just have the shot indicating laser. That way you're not confusing it, or if you're using one of these targets, it doesn't confuse the target or anything like that. And then both that pistol is offered in 2 different levels, and they have their Performer and their Pro. The Pro is their full weight model that has a metal slide. It doesn't reciprocate or anything. You can't hand reciprocate it, so it's just static. It doesn't do anything. But the slide is metal, so it closely simulates the weight of a full-size Glock. And the Performer is a less expensive option that uses a polymer slide, and due to the polymer, it's significantly lighter. And both of these Performer and the Pro models can be had with either their red or green shot indicating laser. And being that the green is more visible if you want to do, you want to go out in your backyard, set a couple targets up and just kind of do transitions or whatever you want to do, you can see that laser better outside versus the red. But that that green laser technology is a little more expensive, so I think it adds about $100 to the price.
Yeah, Now, the trigger reset, that's an interesting feature, obviously, because now does it simulate the reset of well, I know where they can't call it a Glock, but have you worked with one of these before?
Yeah, actually, I hadn't up until NRA show. I got to their booth and used both their models and their AR bolt, which we'll talk about in a minute here. But basically, it's an adjustable trigger. So if you have a competition pistol and you want to adjust it down to 2 pounds, whatever, you can do that and practice that. Or if you have your carry weight, you can adjust that. You can adjust I think you can adjust the take up and all that stuff just to make it. You can make it as much like your exact gun as you want. So it resets after each time. You just keep pulling the trigger. But one of the, features their creator suggests is to have it heavier than your carry gun or your competition gun, because you hear people talk about this. The best way to learn to shoot a semi-auto pistol well is to shoot a double action revolver. Kind of teaches you that long deliberate trigger pull, and then it translates really well. It gets you used to keeping it steady to that lighter, shorter trigger pull. So that's kind of what they recommend, is have it longer and heavier than you would.
Right. Yeah, because on a revolver, any little mistake in trigger manipulation or trigger technique is going to be magnified because of that long, heavier pull.
Right.
And so once you can shoot a revolver well, you've pretty much shown that you have your trigger control. You have really good trigger control, and when that translates to a semi-auto, oftentimes you shoot your semi-auto better because of that.
Right. And another feature of the CERT, it has interchangeable magazines. So they're full weight. It's like a 17-round loaded magazine. So you can practice your mag changes with it, and they sell spare magazines, so you can keep one in a pouch on your hip and drop the mag, throw a fresh one in there. And you can't rack the slide. It doesn't do anything, but you can simulate hitting that slide release or reaching over the top just to kind of get your mechanics.
Now, the AR-15 training unit you just mentioned, so because not only pistols but rifles. People, I know a lot of people maybe feel left out because they don't have these laser training units for the rifles, but a lot more companies are coming out with those. And you said Next Level is offering an AR-15 training unit?
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it, but the CERT is made by Next Level Training, so if you hear that, kind of interchangeable. But Next Level Training has their AR-15 training unit that replaces the entire bolt, so it increases the safety 100-fold over using just the cartridges. Due to the variance in the manufacturers, there are some initial adjustments that you have to make. There's little set screws. You got to kind of set it up just right. But once those are made, the bolt only takes just as long as it would for you to swap, 2 AR bolts. You pop the bolt out, pop the new bolt in, and you're good to go. But the replacement bolt set up in a way to make the trigger reset after each shot, just like their pistol. So you're not having to rack the bolt each time to reset the trigger, which is very nice because they don't make double action ARs, so you would normally have to rack it after each one. And being that you only swap the bolt, you can practice with your own trigger, optics, accessories. And whenever we went to NRA, the guy that kind of started CERT, he was actually a Top Shot, and that's Mike Hughes. He had his personal 3-gun rifle there, and got to pick it up, use the AR trigger in his personal 3-gun rifle. So that's pretty neat. You can put it in your duty carbine if you're a police officer or something like that. You can put it in your 3-gun rifle, your whatever rifle you need it in, and it's going to simulate your trigger pull because it is your trigger and all of your accessories, your optics, and all that stuff. So the bolt is also really, really kind of well designed, in the fact that it's bright red, so you can see this bright red bolt through the side of the ejection port, so you know when that thing is in there because it's bright red. And you also can't close it doesn't have the little cutout for you to be able to close the dust cover.
Oh, okay.
So if you try to close it, you'd think maybe, well, yeah, it's bright red, but what if you close the dust cover? You won't see it in there, and then you forget that it's in there. You pick your rifle up, and it's not live. Well, you can't close the dust cover, so no matter what, it's always visible. I mean, it's still up to you to double check before you put the thing away, but they're just trying to alleviate some of the problems. And the AR bolt is also available in the red and green lasers, so you can use, the green laser. I think especially for an AR, because you're going to be going for more distance than the pistol, you want that green laser. But they don't have the take-up laser like the pistol does, I guess, because it would be kind of hard to fit two lasers in that barrel because it goes down the barrel rather than completely replacing it. So.
Right. I mean, that's good, though, being able to maintain consistency on your rifle and not having to use a specialized rifle with a weird trigger you're not used to.
Right.
All that training you do with a laser is gonna translate into live fire training because you're using the same gun.
Yep.
So before we wrap up the main topic here, moving into some targets here, the laser pet.
Yeah, there's a system called the laser pet. I don't know a whole ton about it, but it's a small little laser unit. It's got kind of replaceable target, I guess, little covers. They have like a regular target, like a bullseye target, like an IDPA type silhouette target, and just different targets you can use. And it's got a little tripod built in, so you can set it up. And it's got a few different modes to where it'll count the number of shots you take or the number of hits you make. And then it also has like a built-in shot timer. So it'll, as soon as it beeps, it counts the time from the beep to the time you hit it. So if it takes you 3 shots to hit it and took you 3 seconds to get to those 3 shots, it'll only count the one hit. So unlike, some shot timers that'll count each one of those 3 shots, it only counts the first one that you hit. So it's just kind of another option to have. But
and then also there's some freeware out there.
Yeah, there's some people heard about a while back on a podcast. There's a guy on Reddit that he wanted something to use with his laser pistol, so he made this software that you use to use your webcam, you focus it on a target on your wall, like you put a target on your wall, focus your webcam on that target, and then you line up a little target on the screen to make sure it's actually, the silhouettes match up. And then as you shoot it on the wall, the software recognizes where the hits are, and it puts little red dots or green dots, depending on the color laser you're using. And then you can go back when you're done and look on your computer and see exactly where you hit. And I think they have there's different ones, but this is the one that I'm familiar with. I haven't used it a whole ton, but just kind of played with it a little bit. So I actually put a link in the show notes if you want to go download that. But being that it is just freeware, floating around on the internet, definitely download at your own risk, because I don't want to be responsible if you get some kind of virus. But I have it, and I don't have a virus, but download at your own risk.
That's awesome that someone could actually, come up with that and make that, though. Does it work fairly well?
Yeah, it's pretty good. One of the big drawbacks I see to it is if you have like a light source in your room, like in the room that you're in, or if maybe there's a window and it's bouncing on like a light wall, it tends to recognize these kind of shades as red, so it'll just put a huge string of red dots and across the target. So if you just have to test it out before you start shooting it, just kind of move your camera and target around until you find a place that doesn't have that light interference.
Right.
And so because I guess some shades of like sunlight and artificial light, they'll kind of make it'll recognize that as a red dot and just put a huge streak of red dots. So it's not as useful if you don't set it up properly. But one of the other features, it differentiates between a red and a green laser. So if you're using that SIRT pistol and you have the red take-up laser and the green shot indicating laser, you can tell it to ignore the red laser and only record the green laser, because you don't want it recording, like if you move, it will record a few red dots and then a green dot. You don't want it to do that.
Right. Excellent. Well, I think that's a good overview of some of the laser training devices out there, so we will wrap up the main topic and close out the show.
Ballroom jeans, fire hose work pants, and long tail tees are three favorites among the men of Gun Guy Radio. Duluth Trading Company has perfected the art of clothing the manly man. If you want manly comfort that's trusted by these gun guys, go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth and check out the other manly essentials Duluth Trading Company offers gun guys like us.
Well, TJ, I just want to say thank you for coming on. I have very limited experience with any of these laser training devices, and wanting to do this topic, I definitely figured you were the right guy for the job because I know you've been working with quite a few of them, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ryan. It was good to be able to talk about it. I love these little laser trainers, and it adds worlds to your dry fire. It's really amazing.
Absolutely, and hopefully this will help some of you guys out. So head to gunguyradio.com/167 for the show notes. There are links there for any of the products we talked about, and really appreciate it.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. hunterofdesign.com.
Well, I hope you're enjoying Gun Guy Radio, and if you are, please consider going over to patreon.com/FRN. What is Patreon, you might ask? Well, Patreon is a simple way for you to crowdfund every episode of Gun Guy Radio. If you're enjoying the show, you can head over to patreon.com/FRN and pledge $1 an episode or $5 an episode to help support pro-gun radio like this. Also, we have some companies that are throwing their support behind Gun Guy Radio by giving some gift cards and gear to send out in random battle boxes that only go to our Patreons here at Gun Guy Radio. So, Alien Gear Holsters giving away some $25 gift cards, Works Holsters, $25 gift cards, some LA Police gear items, Duluth Trading Company, $50 gift cards, the Duke Cannon Supply Box, Field Box gift hat, Gun Goddess, $25 gift cards, and much more. So get all that and more in a random drawing for our battle boxes that we only make available to our Patreons. So that about wraps up this episode of Gun Guy Radio. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes so that you never miss a show. And please leave us a review there as well, gunguyradio.com/iTunes. Please consider joining the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. There are links there in the show notes. And don't forget to check out the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network. This is Ryan Bachad, and I'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv. Are you looking for an extraordinary daily carry option? Look no further. Car Arms is giving away a P9 with night sights right here on the Firearms Radio Network. It's Car's EDC drawing. To enter, simply become a Patreon of any Firearms Radio Network show. Current patrons are automatically entered. But wait, there's more. Keybar, Hellbent holsters, Alien Gear holsters, Precision Ear, and more have ponied up to enhance your EDC loadout. See all of these awesome prizes and more ways to enter at firearmsradio.tv/EDC.